Thank you. I can hear.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. And I would like to call the October 21st, 2022 Emergency APCD Hearing Board meeting to order. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll and swear in the witnesses?
Thank you, Chair Rodriguez. Before I call the roll, I would like to note that all parties are participating via teleconference. For the record, council will not be present during today's hearing board meeting. I would ask that the following individuals please identify themselves for the record. Air Pollution Control District staff.
Scott Nestor, Civil Actions Investigator for the district.
Thank you, Mr. Nestor. Petitioner.
Yes, this is Jen Winfrey with the County of San Diego's Department of Public Works.
Ms. Winfrey, will you be the only one speaking today?
No, I have two other staff and consultants who are attending with us. Craig and Melissa.
Can all parties please identify themselves for the record?
Craig Burnett, Department of Public Works, closed landfills.
Melissa Porter, DPW Public Works, closed landfills.
Brian Duffy, SCS Engineers, Regional Manager.
Sri Vidya Vishwanathan, SCS Engineers.
Gabrielle Stevens, SCS Engineers.
Thank you. I will now swear in all those that wish to provide testimony on this item on today's agenda. This includes any members of the public. Goes on.
Yeah, I can't.
Are you having problems turning your videos on?
Yes, when I turned my video on, your voice became distorted and was delayed.
I will have to administer an oath for you, and we would have to have visual identification.
Okay.
There is a caller with the last four digits 6499. Will you please identify yourself for the record? Caller 6499, will you please press star 9 and identify yourself for the record? Does petitioner have any callers today?
We do not. I'm thinking that might be our counsel, Tom Dayak, and I'm messaging him through our county system in case he's having difficulties hearing you.
Okay, thank you. I've placed them back into the waiting room at this time.
Okay. He is not responding. We don't expect him to testify. Does he need to be sworn in if we're not expecting him to speak?
No, not unless he will provide testimony today.
No,
but
he will
I
not
would
provide
like to confirm that.
Okay. He's not.
Okay. Madam Chair, I will proceed with swearing in of the witnesses.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Petitioner and APCD staff, will you please raise your right hand for the swearing in? Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give in the matter before this hearing board is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Can I get a verbal acknowledgement, please? Thank you. Madam Chair?
Thank you very much, Madam Clerk. We will now move to petition 4526 for the emergency variance. But before we actually continue, with this, I just want to make sure that everybody actually can listen, and that we also need to be a little bit patience, I guess, because I've also been having a little bit of problems, with connectivity today. So if we actually get bumped out, we're just gonna take our time, to actually rejoin. Madam Clerk definitely owns everything, that has to do with the transmission today. So we will actually take everything in order. And if you have, any concerns, in the middle, please, we will definitely address, take a note, and you will definitely have, your time, present here. So I do not know how many of you have been in front of the hearing board before, but I tend to conduct things, even seriously, although rather relaxed, so that we can understand what actually got you or the petitioner, to this condition. Customarily, what we do is that we hear from the APCD, first, and then, that the petitioner will actually have an opportunity to answer, to the inquiries and to the presentation. And before we get to the hearing itself, okay, and I know that I'm jumping a little bit here, I actually have to say that the most critical thing is that we get out of the way that this is truly, an equipment breakdown variance. Okay, so once we actually complete that and are completely in agreement that that fulfills the requirements of Rule 98, by the APCD, then we will then hear, the variance request. But that is definitely the first step. So let's then focus on that step first. Okay, Rule 98. I actually have to say that this is available. On the APCD website and available to everybody. I do not know if you actually have it available. Madam Clerk. We just want to make sure that.
Moment.
No problem. Again, it's the assurance, that this petition can be heard, because it is, fulfills all the requirements of breakdown condition. Thank you so very much, Madam Clerk. So these are the conditions, for Rule 98, which is the definition of the breakdown. We're going to take a look that this petition definitely fulfills all the 5 requirements, that actually are here present, and that everybody in the public actually can take a look at this and make, that judgment independent, and also definitely with us. So who is going to be speaking, for Public Works?
I will make the initial statement, and then we will take any questions or respond to any questions with our staff.
So, Ms. Winfrey, the only thing that I want us to know at this point in time is for you to do the breakdown, on the 5 conditions. Know that your petition definitely is a breakdown, a condition, for emergency variance. Please go ahead.
Yes, we affirm that our breakdown meets those 5 conditions in Rule 98.
Okay, well, I actually see on your write-up, that the condition, again, that the previous SCS maintenance, or repair, let's actually call it service, was on the 14th. Was the 14th a Friday?
Yes.
Okay, so the 17th, however, everything, went kind of belly up. Do you or does Public Works have staff on site, Saturday and Sunday?
Not Public Works staff from the closed landfill section. There is Public Works staff from the airports division present on the weekend, but they do not, they're not knowledgeable about landfill maintenance, nor would they have been inspecting that site.
So, if this was, for example, if something would have happened on a Saturday, let's say that the condition actually was not upon discovery on the 17th. Let's actually say that, it could have been definitely on that Saturday. So would the gases have been emitting, uncontrollably, through the 17th until discovery?
No, and I will refer this to SCS to answer.
From SCS, who would be the person, that responding, please?
That would be me, Brian Duffy. So the flare system on site has an automatic shut-off device. So and the gas collection system is fully contained and below grade, so buried. collection system piping. So in the event of a shutdown, the flare system's main shutoff valve would automatically shut down, preventing any emissions from the gas collection system from escaping into the atmosphere.
Thank you. I mean, so how often does SCS, perform maintenance, on this particular unit? Again, I'm just only going to, what is here in front of me.
We monitor the flare system on a weekly basis, and the landfill gas extraction wells are monitored on a monthly basis.
And the conditions on the 14th, for example, did not provide you an anticipatory, maybe experiential, the condition that would say this is an emergent issue that we really need to take a look at. Something that could have been done on that Saturday or Sunday, for example.
No, that it didn't warrant any concern because the flare system, the oxygen levels at the flare system remained as we've seen them historically, and there was no concern at that time.
I would imagine that you have a report that you issue, for every single time that you service one of these units. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Thank you so very much. And on your report, does your report actually indicate, that this could be an emergent issue that you needed to address, promptly on the 17th?
No, we didn't have any indication of it at that time.
And of course, the people that provide the service are qualified, that to perform this type of service.
Correct.
And these individuals are qualified now by SCS independently?
That's correct.
Okay, I hear that this does not constitute a nuisance. I know where this is located. Is there a history of breakdown on this unit?
Not in this particular part of the collection system, no.
Okay. Have you encountered similar or equivalent breakdowns in any other area of the system?
Not of this nature, no.
Not of this nature. So is that definitely because, the intensity, the length, when you say, I'm looking at an equivalency, so
Right.
Nothing equivalent?
Nothing equivalent, no. The collection system piping is below grade, and so we would have to excavate in order to expose the piping. So we've never had to do that in the event of a breakdown for this site.
No, thank you so very much. Mr. Nestor, do you have any questions on the matter? And what is the APCD's position on the classification of this variance per se?
We thought the variance petition was fairly thorough, and we don't have any questions regarding this. We did determine that it was a breakdown.
Thank you so very much. Excellent. Well, definitely, that with the presentation and the material in front of me, I agree, that this is definitely an emergency variance, on a breakdown condition, because it does meet, the requirements and the definitions of Rule 98 of San Diego Air Pollution Control District Hearing Board. So let's get into the variance, hearing. So Mr. Nestor, I will allow you to definitely speak, first, and have the presentation as it is customary from the APCD. And certainly we're going to be engaging, into a conversation, because we certainly need to ensure that Public Works and the departments, as an essential, the service is, provides the attention and the correction that is actually required. Go ahead, Mr. Nestor.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. The petitioner, San Diego County Department of Public Works, or DPW, operates an inactive landfill at Palomar Airport in Carlsbad. The landfill is equipped with a landfill gas collection and control system that removes volatile organic compounds generated in the decomposition of organic matter in the landfill. The gas collection system consists of 75 wells that draw the organic gases from the waste material and piping that takes the collected gases to a flare. The flare burns the VOC emissions, reducing them to mostly CO2 and water vapor. Mia, if we could show slide 1. Okay, this shows the relevant conditions of the permit to operate. Condition number 7 of the permit to operate requires surface measurements of the landfill gas to not exceed 500 ppm. A measurement in excess of that value might indicate that the collection system or a section of it is not creating enough negative pressure and the landfill gases are migrating directly to the surface. Condition number 8 requires the collected landfill gas to not have more than 3.5% oxygen when it reaches the flare. A higher reading might indicate a leak upstream in the collection system. Stop me if you have any questions. Let's go to the next. Rule 59 is the district's comprehensive rule for landfills. The rule addresses a lot of variables, more than this one small section of the rule, and it applies to all the landfills in the county. What this slide shows is that section D3 of Rule 59 sets the limit for landfill gas measured at the surface at 1,375 ppm measured as methane. And that's comparable to the 500 for this specific 500 ppm for this specific permit. Next, I want to give you, we can take this one down. Next, I want to give you some of the compliance history of the facility. The Palomar Airport landfill has been in operation for, from what I could see, about 3 decades and has not been the subject of any nuisance violations. The facility has received 2 notices of violation in that time, one in 2015 and one in July of this year. The recent NOV resulted in no further action being taken by the district due to changes in the sampling protocol and a quick return to compliance by the landfill operators. Also this past July, DPW asked the district for assistance with monitoring landfill gas migration, which appears to be an ongoing concern at the landfill. So that's sort of the background and brief history. And next I'm going to talk about the variance petition. The petitioner called in a breakdown on the landfill gas collection and control system on Monday, October 17th. The district inspected the facility on Tuesday, and then the district determined it was a valid breakdown under Rule 98. Yesterday, DPW submitted the petition requesting relief from permit condition number 7 and number 8 and Rule 59. It appears that the central point of the petition is that the landfill gas collection system is damaged somewhere underground, is allowing more oxygen into the captured gas as measured at the flare. Now, repairing that damage will require the temporary shutdown of the system, which may result in more landfill gas migrating straight to the surface and exceeding the 500 ppm methane limit. Okay, now we can go to that next slide, Mia. Okay, this is giving away our entire position here. We've looked at the forms that the petitioner has submitted, and I wanted to go through those kind of piece by piece, and also show you the district's position on this slide for brevity. We think that good cause exists for granting the variance. As I mentioned before, it appears there are several serious issues affecting the landfill, with just one of them being compliance with air regulations and permit conditions. The district believes that a limited variance would allow attention to be paid to the necessary repairs to the gas collection system. We believe good cause is shown for a variance from condition number 8, the oxygen limit. For condition number 7, we believe good cause can be shown with limitations. We believe the variance, if granted, should be limited to the time period and the area where the excavation and repairs are being made to the landfill gas collection system. These are the areas most likely to provide a path of least resistance for escaping landfill gas. We do not agree that there is good cause for a variance from the entirety of Rule 59. But similar to condition number 7, we believe a variance, if granted, should be limited to the time period and the area where excavation and repairs are being made to the landfill gas system. For the second one, constitutes an emergency. We believe the situation does constitute an emergency as time is of the essence to address the gas migration issue that might affect the airport and the neighboring businesses. We did notice in the form submitted by the petitioner a concern if a variance is not granted about shutting down. And so we wanted to clarify that if a variance is not granted to the district by the hearing board, the district might find the landfill in violation of the requirements, but we do not contemplate requiring the shutdown of the gas collection system. On number 3 here, the operation resulting from the variance should not create a private or public nuisance. The district believes that in actuality, there is less potential for the nuisance if the collection and control system remains in operation under variance, even if the O2 limit is not achieved. And then we don't have any objections for number 4 and number 5 here about those are more on the hearing board side of things. Number 6, like we've talked about already, we do state that the district has determined that it was a breakdown per Rule 98 and the petitioner has followed the steps in that rule. And the next slide, I have some recommendations for monitoring and reporting. Essentially, if the petition is granted, we would recommend daily monitoring of the oxygen at the flare and daily surface monitoring of methane during excavation and repair activities and weekly reporting. That concludes the district's presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nestor. I mean, as always, very thorough. I mean, and as you know, I love tables. Keeps us, I mean, kind of organized as well. Now, I mean, that for either Mr. Duffy or Ms. Winfrey. So, you know, I mean, that what is the plan, I mean, for addressing, I mean, these issues, I mean, at the landfill?
Yes, thank you for holding this hearing tonight to start with. So we are working closely with agencies, including yours, the Solid Waste Local Enforcement Agency and the Regional Water Quality Control Board, to comply with regulations and to get our plans into them. We are conducting investigations as to what is going to be the most likely way to address the system and get the gas collection system back up online so we can have full compliance and protect public and environmental health. And I will allow Brian to go into the specifics of what we're doing.
Thanks, Jen. So we're looking at the areas in question. We're looking at old designs and old maps that we have of the gas collection system to locate the suspected source of the oxygen. And we're working with the airports to schedule the excavations of those proposed locations. And as soon as we get confirmation from the airports that we can work in those areas, we'll start excavations and the exploratory work to find the break. And once we do locate the origin, we plan on cutting and capping those sections of the collection system, abandoning them in place, grouting them so that they're no longer a pathway for the methane gas to travel. And then thereafter we'll be resealing the backfilling and resealing the surface.
Again, I mean, always working with government. I mean, actually, with any entity is always a challenge, particularly on the issuance of purchase orders. I mean, so are you ready to go? And I'm asking this question because I think that the 30 days may be very beneficial to you, but there's always a risk. I mean, do you have the confidence that you will be able to complete and come to compliance in 30 days?
Short answer is yes. The longer answer is, we need the approval from the airport to work in the area, because this is beyond the approach zone of the runway on site, because there is an airport on site. Once we get approval, I had a meeting today with airport operations, and their staff there said we looked at the proposed areas, and their staff said this does look like you can work in this area immediately during the day, but we still need to get approval from their management, who's on vacation right now and will be back on Monday.
Chair Rodriguez, I would like to chime in. DPW acknowledges that the exigence of the circumstance, and we are facilitating all means possible to make these repairs as quickly as possible. We do have some obviously challenges with an active airport being on the site, but everybody in DPW, all the way up to our director, council, and our higher executive management has committed to making every resource available to make these repairs happen as quickly as possible.
Perfect. I mean, I definitely like, hearing that, because certainly, just not getting into, the POs alone, just the process actually takes 3 to 4 months. And I think, that maybe biting a little bit more we can chew. And it's just not that, there's definitely, some issues, with the methane emissions. That this is definitely a flammable material. They're definitely kind of a domino effect. Okay, so I'm really very glad to hear that. Certainly, I know that SCS will continue now with the knowledge that they have about the conditions. Work on the technical, aspect of it as well. Efficiently. So, can you curtail operations?
Airport operations?
No, your operations.
I'm not sure I understand the question, Brian.
Yeah, can you limit actually the escape of oxygen? Can you limit eliminate any of the gases forming and escaping? So it just goes with the business that you're in.
I think.
Yeah, so there are collection system on the gas collection system. There are isolation valves that we installed recently in the last within the last year that we can divert vacuum to certain parts of the collection system in Unit 3 of the airport to better collect some of the the landfill gas, and we can in the areas on the old collection system that we think might be the source of the oxygen. Unfortunately, there's no collection system valving there, but we do have tools to isolate the piping if needed.
Is that going to be a part of your plan of action?
It is. Our intention is to keep the gas system running while we are working.
Yes. I guess in some instances you actually have nothing to do with it except for nature, which is really very apological stuff, so. Any other questions? Any other comments? Gabrielle Stevens, Mr. Burnett.
No comments from me at this time.
Okay. I am so sorry, Gabrielle. Ms. Stevens. Mr. Burnett.
No comments.
Okay. And I believe, that there was another person as well, unplanned, so do not see her. Well, so thank you very much actually for coming. I have, as we actually established, that this petition, meets all the requirements of the 98. And thank you for the cooperation between DPW and SCS, engineers, in maintenance, of this landfill. certainly I know where this is. Allow me a couple of minutes, however, I mean, to put my thoughts together here. Okay, so because I'm going to be ready. And Mia, if you could please, Madam Clerk, I mean, if you could please go to Mr. Nestor's presentation to slide number 3. I would like to discuss this now with personnel present. So DPW and SCS, are you in agreement? I mean, that these are number 3, previous one. There you go. Thank you so very much. Are you in agreement that these are the conditions, I mean, of the permit or the rules, excuse me, that apply, I mean, that to this request for variance?
Yes.
Okay. I mean that, and can we definitely go to slide number 4, please? Are there any issues, concerns, I mean, on the potential conditions, I mean, that's for this variance? Should it be granted?
No.
SCS will be able to provide all of these.
Perfect. So I was going to say, I think it will be better to, for the technical stuff to answer. Okay.
Yeah.
So, any concerns, I mean, Mr. Duffy, regarding methane, I mean, escape or anything like that? Again, I mean, as you know, I mean, it's a flammable material. I mean, and definitely low explosives limit is a 5%. I mean, which in combination, I mean, it's not difficult to achieve, even though this is an open environment.
I'm sorry, I did not catch that.
On your methane, I mean, I know that you also, I mean, monitor for methane. So have you had any issues now with methane getting any closer to the lower explosive limit?
At the flare station?
Mm-hmm.
No.
Not at all. Okay. And I know that part of the composition as well would be hydrogen sulfide. I mean, any hydrogen sulfide, any concerns, I mean, to reach to 10 ppm?
We have not detected H2S at the site.
Okay.
In the gas stream.
Okay. So now allow me, I mean, Madam Clerk, if you can go back, to slide number 3. Thank you so very much. I'm doing longhand, okay? And Madam Clerk, if we can go to slide number 4, please. Limited to time. Okay, just, well, I am certainly, I think, ready. I mean, that to definitely grant, this variance request. You're going to go back and forth on Madam Clerk, on showing because I did not copy everything. Okay, so certainly good cause has been shown. And thank you so very much for putting a good write-up together so that I was able to understand, the predicament you're in. So the variance has been granted, that to this petition, and which I missed. And it refers to, the permit to operate 910733, conditions 7 and 8, and Rule 59 within parentheses D and within parentheses 3. The good cause has been found, on the following. This facility, is classified per Health and Safety Code Section 42352 as an essential public service, and coming into compliance, would be, coming into prompt compliance, could be a burden onto, the facility. Second, the running, the landfill gas and getting into prompt repairs, is not beneficial, that closing it down. And third, the DPD, Department of Public Works and SCS engineers resources are committed, that to prompt compliance, with the permit conditions and Rule 59D3, whereby, we have gotten, assurance, from not only people present here, but also from management, of the dedication and the commitment that there is. I actually have to say though, that regarding, the to granting the variance, on condition 7 of that permit and condition 59D3 is going to be specifically limited to that time and place of the repair. So it's not, Blanche is just very specific, to that time and place of repair. Madam Clerk, if you can go to slide number 4. This variance will have the following conditions. So it definitely starts upon, the date, of filing, actually on the call. And definitely valid for 30 days. And petitioner needs to perform daily monitoring for gas oxygen concentration at the flare. Petitioner will also have to perform daily surface monitoring and record keeping in an area of excavation of underground components during the excavation repair. As I mentioned before, that the variance on conditions, 7 and 59D3 is limited to time and the place of repair. And weekly reports will be provided, to Mr. Scott Nestor every single Wednesday before 4 o'clock in the afternoon during the variance period. In that report, I would like for petitioner to add the repair and maintenance activity, the monitoring data for oxygen concentration at the flare, the monitoring data for daily surface monitoring and record of the area of excavation of underground components, and the time, the end dates when this actually is occurring. So those are going to be your headers on that Excel spreadsheet. Okay. And then, the delivery of this weekly report will be done to Mr. Scott Nestor, Civil Action Investigator, to his email address as indicated here. Again, by 4 o'clock every single Wednesday for the duration of the variance. I would like to add another request here. Should petitioner presuming or not to finish these repairs, by the 3rd week of this variance that is granted, petitioner should promptly submit a request, for additional variance. Okay. Are there any questions, from petitioner or APCD as well?
No question.
Okay, anything else, Mr. Nestor?
Nothing else from the district. Thank you, Madam Chair.
No, thank you. Anything, from, again, SCS?
Yeah, I do have a question. since the variance is being approved, can we go ahead and start the flare tonight?
I mean, that you are right now under the variance, you know, so.
I just,
Thank you.
Now make sure, however, that you log in that time on those dates very carefully, though.
yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions? Any other comments? Well, I mean, I actually have to say that they have been a fantastic team. I mean, and the cooperation is very palpable here. I mean, that's so. In this case, then I thank you, everyone, and that concludes our business for today. And if you were to need to come back, you know, I mean, to the board, I mean, the next scheduled meeting is October 27, 2022, and we will meet at 9 a.m. I mean, via Zoom. Again, you know, this is, I mean, teleconference. I wish you a wonderful weekend, and go fix that.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Bye-bye. You too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.